happened to my laptop? Okay. That's weird, but that shit just turned off. What the fuck was that? That was kind of strange. Hey, what's up, yo? West Side Story. One of my favorite books back in the day. Had to read that shit, and
All of the races are different. Our nation's first Orcish police officer. Hey, don't get me stabbed. Bloodwork's always gotta be the bag.
all right, let's start this shit back from the top. Yeah, what up, what up, what up? We up too early for most people, actually, so it's all good. I'm used to being up before everybody else. Motherfuckers don't know this the meditation hour. Go to sleep before midnight, so all your melatonin can build up in you. Get up early in the morning, get that serotonin rushing, and you meditate early in the day, yo. As soon as you wake from your slumber. Motherfucker want to sleep all day, wasting time. Then they get up and start rushing around and shit. It ain't healthy for you. Yeah, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? Hey, can you hear me? I don't see no picture. What time is it here? It's 6:40. Yeah, 6:40 in the morning. Shit, I've been up since about 4:30 to 5 o'clock. I say meditating, man. You just can't jump into your day, man. You gotta get that. You gotta balance your energy and get yourself centered and focused. So what's up? Doing the dual stream right now. I'm on YouTube Live and I'm on Instagram Live. The time here is it's almost 7 o'clock. It's 6:40 a.m. If you guys want to get a better view of my stream, you can definitely go to the link in my Instagram bio, and I have the link to my YouTube channel. You can just jump right over to the YouTube, and the YouTube camera is bigger, and you can see more in the studio, and it's reversed the right way so that when you read words, they're not written backwards like that. The camera's not reversed. Yo, YouTube, who I got in here, yo, right now? Make a comment, yo. When it's time to meditate, I just really wake and bake. No time to hesitate. You gotta get your chakra straight before they try to hate. Stress. Yeah, this shit is looking beast.
Good is in every Blue Diamond almond. And once good gets going, there's no stopping it.
tried this before. Now that light is just crazy. Magic. I really love this beat. Let me take it from the top one time. That's good. Yo, what up, Juju? Motherfucking Hawk, son. That's my motherfucking. That's the YouTube setup. Just got up to some art and education, bro. Man, this piece about to be dope, yo. I'm gonna get started on it in a minute.
So I just figured out a way to save a
Get my
bunch of
little
money
wake of
on
bacon,
Amazon. Here's
finish
the
my
deal.
little cup of
I don't
coffee
know
real
about
quick.
you, but I buy
I'll start
everything
brushing.
on Amazon. I used to think that no matter what, I was always getting the best price. Turns out,
Motherfucking chilling, you chilling. What's on your agenda for the day, bro? I ain't got shit planned. My agenda for the day is to chill as hard as I possibly can. That's my whole plan for today, is just to be as chill as possible all day. I ain't doing shit today. I'ma paint, I'ma smoke, I'ma eat, play some video games, probably take a nap, probably paint some more. I'ma just chill as hard as I can today. It's cold as fuck outside. I ain't even go to the gym this morning. Y'all woke up, man? Bruh, it was 12 degrees outside. Man, yesterday it was like 26 degrees. And that shit wasn't too bad. Anything below freezing is crazy. But I went out there, man, like 26 degrees trying to warm the car up. That shit is like, oh shit. I look at that shit this morning. Look at that. I woke up, look at the weather, 12 degrees. I'm not going outside at 12 degrees, so man. 26 degrees is bad enough. They got that today, you know what I'm saying? Y'all can have that shit at 12 degrees. Nah. Yeah. You know why? Because, man, yeah. I'm from South Carolina. I ain't built for the cold. I ain't built for the snow. Man, I'm built for the shores, the beaches, the waves, and all the women galore. I ain't built for the snowflakes. I ain't built for these whole sakes. Man, oh shit. I ain't built for the cold, yo. And I ain't built for the snow. I'm built for the beaches and the shore, the waves and the women, the bikinis and the more. Yeah. Man, everybody up here eat pizzas and pierogies. I want me some crab legs and hoagies. Cause I ain't built for the cold. I'm built for the beaches and the shores. You got me loving. Oh shit. Feel good now, shit. Oh yeah. I wonder if this will work. It might work, it might not. Oh shit. That's not gonna work. phone camera set up. Come on, phone, act right. Is that gonna stay like that? It might stay. I guarantee if I bump anything, that bitch gonna fall.
Prime Minister, Peter Jackson, sir.
It takes the power of leadership to confront fear.
How many men will survive?
We will need a
like a hungry sponge. It's constantly absorbing information. What are
So I just figured out a way to save a bunch of money on Amazon. Here's the deal. I don't know about you, but I buy everything on Amazon. I used to
I will always be indebted to the Academy of Art for making SOAR possible. Students contribute and they work together.
The idea is emulating a studio experience of what it would be like to work at Pixar or
Yeah, what up? Yo, thanks. Yo, Lady T, that's what's up, yo. Yeah, if you guys click my YouTube link in my Instagram bio, I'm live on YouTube right now. You'll see it from a better angle, yeah. I picked the thorn and grew a rose. Yo, good morning, everybody. What's up? Jujo? Oh, shit. Jug on that B, how? Oh, got the dropsies. Jug on that B,
Resolution number 1, binge more. Join the Uncarrier and get 4 unlimited
Ooh,
lines for
commercial,
$40
you got
each
that
with
one.
Netflix included.
I gotta keep a steady hand right
Watch
now.
however you want
Else I
on your
would skip
phone,
the shit.
tablet, or
You know what?
TV.
Damn. Something about commercials, man. I can't think. Yeah, gonna be, huh? Commercial almost got me just now. Caught me while I was in the middle of a brushstroke. I don't play that shit though. Oh, good morning, everybody. What's up? Hey, hold up. Too many comments. Chunky Monkey. Whoa, slow down, people. Whoa. Roman Jugger. What's up? Mr. Victor. What's good, bro? I get nothing done on Instagram. I get that sleepiness, and then I start nodding out. Bruh, this thing is almost there. It's just a little brush. That's all I'm using right now. Just a little brush, just little shit I'm seeing here and there. You know what I'm saying? This shit about to be done, son. It's about to be done. It's almost a wrap. It's almost a wrap for this one. What's up? Ain't nobody on Instagram? I'm about to turn my Instagram off and use my phone to control the beats. Yo, Chunky, I swear, yo, this is probably one of my favorite paintings right now too, yo. Like it's just so different, you know what I'm saying? The stark contrast between the colors, man, you know what I'm saying? That shit is, I like it. I think once I let the world see it, you guys are the only people who see it right now. Who watch me paint live, yo. So, but when it's done, I'll take a picture and post it for everybody else to see, and we'll see what kind of response and what kind of feedback it gets, yo. I'm still alive. What's up, everybody? Can you holler at me this morning on Instagram? And I'm about to shut this down. Yo, peace, Instagram. Thanks, bro. Let me unhook the speaker from the laptop. Yo, if this is your guys' first time in my stream, yo, definitely follow my channel, yo. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Cause this is all I do, bro. Motherfucking chill, take it easy. I just want everything to be calm and copacetic. You know what I'm saying? We don't make no big fuss over here at Art and Education. Whereas, I might try to get a little bit of education in real quick.
Connected to your iPhone.
Help us understand what machine learning is, because that seems to be the key driver of so much of the excitement and also the concern around artificial intelligence. How does machine learning work?
So artificial intelligence and machine learning is about 60 years old and has not had a great day in its past until recently. And the reason is that today we have reached a scale of computing and data sets that was necessary to make machines smart. So here's how it works. If you program a computer today, say your phone, then you hire software engineers that write a very, very long kitchen recipe. Like, if the water is too hot, turn on the temperature. If it's too cold, turn up the temperature. The recipes are not just 10 lines long, they are millions of lines long. A modern cell phone has 12 million lines of code. A browser has 5 million lines of code. And each bug in this recipe can cause your computer to crash. That's why a software engineer makes so much money. The new thing now is that computers can find their own rules. So instead of an expert deciphering step by step a rule for every contingency, what you do now is you give the computer examples and have it infer its own rules. A really good example is AlphaGo, which recently was won by Google. Normally in game playing, you would really write down all the rules. But in AlphaGo's case, the system looked over 1 million games and was able to infer its own rules and then beat the world's residing Go champion. That is exciting because it relieves the software engineer of the need of being super smart and pushes the burden towards the data. As I said, the inflection point where this has become really possible. Very embarrassing, my thesis was about machine learning. It was completely insignificant. Don't read it, because it was 20 years ago. And back then the computers were as big as a cockroach brain. Now they are powerful enough to really emulate kind of specialized human thinking. And then the computers take advantage of the fact that they can look at much more data than people can. So I'd say AlphaGo looked over more than 1 million games. No human expert can ever study 1 million games. Google has looked on over 100 billion web pages. No person can ever study 100 billion web pages. So as a result, the computer can find rules that even people can't find.
So it's kind of, instead of looking ahead to if he does that, I will do that, it's more saying, here is what looks like a winning pattern. Here is what looks like a winning pattern.
I mean, think about how you raise children. You don't spend the first 18 years giving the kids a rule for every contingency and then set them free, and then they have this big program. They stumble, they fall, they get up, they get slapped or spanked, and they have a positive experience, good grade in school, and they're figured out on their own. And that's happening with computers now. which makes computer programming so much easier all of a sudden. Now you don't have to think anymore, you just give them lots of data.
And so this has been key to the spectacular improvement in power of self-driving cars. I think you gave me an example. Can you explain what's happening here?
This is a drive of a self-driving car that we happen to have at Udacity and recently made into a spin-out called Voyage, where we use this thing called deep learning to train a car to drive itself. And this is driving from Mountain View, California to San Francisco on El Camino Real on a rainy day with bicyclists and pedestrians and the 133 traffic lights. And the novel thing here is when I many moons ago, I started the Google self-driving car team. And back in the day, I hired the world's best software engineers to find the world's best rules. This is just trained. We drive this road 20 times. We put all this data into the computer brain. And after a few hours of processing, it comes up with behavior that often surpasses human agility. So it's become really easy to program it. This is 100% autonomous, about 33 miles an hour and a half.
So explain, so on the big part of this program on the left, you're seeing basically what the computer sees as trucks and cars and those crops overtaking it and so forth.
On the right side, you see the camera image, which is the main input here, and it's used to find lanes, other cars, traffic lights. The vehicle has a radar to do distance estimation, which is very commonly used in these kind of systems. On the left side, you see a laser diagram where you see obstacles like trees and so on depicted by the laser. But almost all the interesting work is happening on the camera image now. We're really shifting over from precision sensors like radars and lasers into kind of very cheap commoditized sensors. A camera costs less than $8.
And that green dot on the left thing, what is that? Is that anything meaningful?
This is a look-ahead point for your adaptive cruise control. So it helps us understand how to regulate velocity based on how far the car is in front of you.
And so you've also got an example, I think, of how the actual learning part takes place. Maybe we can see that. Talk about this.
This is an example where we posed the challenge to Udacity students that take what we call a self-driving car nanodegree. And we gave them this data set and said, hey, can you guys figure out how to steer this car? And if you look at the images, it's even for humans quite impossible to get the steering right. And we ran a competition and said, hey, it's a deep learning competition, AI competition. And we gave the students 48 hours, right? So if you are a software house like Google or Facebook, something like this costs you at least 6 months to work. So we figured 48 hours is great. And within 48 hours, we got about 100 submissions from students. And the top 4 got it perfectly right. It drives better than I could drive on this imagery using deep learning. And again, it's the same methodology. It's this magical thing. When you give enough data to a computer now and give enough time to combine the data, it finds its own rules.
And so that has led to development of powerful applications in all sorts of areas. You were talking to me the other day about cancer. Can I show this video?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is cool.
So this is kind of an insight into what's happening in a completely different domain. This is augmenting or competing, it's in the eye of the beholder, with people who are being paid $400,000 a year. Dermatologists, highly trained specialists. It takes more than a decade of training to be a good dermatologist. What you see here is the machine learning version of it. It's called a neural network. Neural networks is the technical term for these machine learning algorithms. They've been around since the 1980s. This one has been invented in 1988 by a Facebook fellow called Yann LeCun. And it propagates data status through what you could think of as the human brain. It's not quite the same thing, but it emulates the same thing. It goes stage after stage. In the very first stage, it takes the visual input and extract edges and rods and dots. And the next one become more complicated edges and shapes like little half moons. And eventually, it's able to build really complicated concepts. Andrew Ng has been able to show that it's able to find cat faces and dog faces in vast amounts of images. What my student team at Stanford has shown is that if you train it on 129,000 images of skin conditions, including melanoma and carcinomas, you can do as good a job as the best human dermatologists. And to convince ourselves that this is the case, we captured an independent data set that we presented to our network and to 25 board-certified Stanford-level dermatologists and compared those. And in most cases, we're either on par or above the performance classification accuracy of human dermatologists.
You were telling me an anecdote. I think about this image right here. What happened here?
This was last Thursday, and that's a moving piece. So what we shown before, and we published in Nature earlier this year, was this idea that we show dermatologist images and our computer program images, and we count how often they're right. But all these images are past images. They've all been biopsied to make sure we have the correct classification. This one wasn't. So this one was actually done at Stanford by one of our collaborators. And the story goes that our collaborator, who's a world-famous dermatologist, one of the 3 best apparently, looked at this mole and said, it's not skin cancer. And then he had a second moment where he said, let me just check with the app. So he took out his iPhone and ran our piece of software, our pocket dermatologist, so to speak, and the iPhone said cancer. It said melanoma. And then he was confused and decided, okay, maybe I trust the iPhone a little bit more than myself. And he sent it out to the lab to get it biopsied. And it came out as an aggressive melanoma. So I think this might be the first time that we actually found in the practice using deep learning an actual person whose melanoma would have gone unclassified had it not been for deep learning.
I mean, that's incredible. It feels like there'd be an instant demand for an app like this right now, although you might freak out a lot of people. Are you thinking of doing this, making an app that allows self-checking?
So my inbox is flooded about cancer apps with heartbreaking stories of people. I mean, there's some people have had 10, 15, 20 melanomas removed and are scared that this one might be overlooked like this one. And also about, I don't know, flying cars, speaker inquiries these days, I guess. My take is we need more testing. I want to be very careful. It's very easy to give a flashy result and impress the TED audience. It's much harder to put something out that's ethical. And if people were to use the app and choose not to consult the assistant of a doctor because we get it wrong, I would feel really bad about it. So we're currently doing clinical tests. And as these clinical tests commence and our data holds up, we might be able at some point to take this kind of technology and take it out of the Stanford Clinicum and bring it to the entire world, places where Stanford doctors never ever set a foot.
And do I hear this right, that it seemed like what you were saying, because you're working with this army of Udacity students, that in a way you're applying a different form of machine learning that might take place in a company, which is you're combining machine learning with a form of crowd wisdom. Are you saying that sometimes you think that can actually outperform what a company can do, even a vast company?
I believe there's now instances that blow my mind, and I'm still trying to understand. What Chris is referring to is these competitions that we run, we turn them around in 48 hours. And we've been able to build a self-driving car that can drive from Mountain View to San Francisco on surface streets. It's not quite on par with Google after 7 years of Google work, but it's getting there. And it took us only 2 engineers and 3 months to do this. And the reason is we have an army of students who participate in competitions. We're not the only ones who use crowdsourcing. Uber and Didi use crowdsourcing for driving. Airbnb uses crowdsourcing for hotels. There's now many examples where people do bug finding crowdsourcing or protein folding for all things in crowdsourcing. But we've been able to build this car in 3 months. So I'm actually rethinking how we organize corporations. We have a staff of 9,000 people who are never hired, I never fire. They show up to work or not, I don't even know. Then they submit me maybe 9,000 answers. I'm not obliged to use any of those. I end up paying only the winners, so I'm actually very cheap scored here, which is not the best thing to do. And they consider it part of education too, which is nice. But these students have been able to produce amazing deep learning results. So yeah, the synthesis of great people and great machine learning is amazing.
I mean, Garry Kasparov said on the first day that the winners of chess surprisingly turned out to be 2 amateur chess players with 3 mediocre to good computer programs could outperform 1 grandmaster with 1 great chess player. Like, it was all part of the process. And
yeah.
It almost seems like you're talking about a much richer version of that same idea.
Yeah, I mean, as you followed the fantastic panels yesterday morning and 2 sessions about AI, robotic overlords, and the human response, many, many great things were said. But one of my concerns is that we sometimes confuse what's actually been done in AI with this kind of overlord threat, where your AI develops consciousness, right? The last thing I want is to my AI to have consciousness. I don't want to come into my kitchen and have the refrigerator just fallen in love with the dishwasher and telling me because I wasn't nice enough, my food is now warm, right? I wouldn't buy these products, and I don't want them. But the truth is, for me, AI has always been an augmentation of people. It's been an augmentation of us to make us stronger. And I think Kasparov was exactly correct. It's been the combination of human smarts and machine smarts that make us stronger. The theme of machines making us stronger is as old as machines are. Agricultural revolution took place because we made steam engines and farming equipment that couldn't farm by itself. They never replaced that, made us stronger. And I believe this new wave of AI will make us much, much, much stronger as a human race.
So we'll come on to that a bit more, but just to continue with the sort of the scary part of this for some people, like what feels like it gets scary for people is when you have a computer that can rewrite its own code, like so it can copy, it can create multiple copies of itself, try a bunch of different code versions, possibly even at random, and then check them out and see if a goal is achieved and improved. So say the goal is to do better on an intelligence test. You know, a computer that was moderately good at that, you could try a million versions of that. You might find one that was better, and then repeat. And so the concern is that you get some sort of runaway effect where everything is fine on Thursday evening, and you come back into the lab on Friday morning, and because of the speed of computers and so forth, just things have gone crazy, and suddenly
I would say this is a possibility, but it's a very remote possibility. So let me just translate what I heard you say. In the AlphaGo case, we had exactly this thing. Computer would play the game against itself and then learn new rules. And what machine learning is a rewriting of the rules. It's the rewriting of code. But I think there was absolutely no concern that AlphaGo would take over the world. It can't even play chess.
No. But now these are all very sort of single domain things. But it's possible to imagine. I mean, we just saw a computer that seemed nearly capable of passing a university entrance test. That can it can't read and understand in the sense that we can, but it can certainly absorb all the text and maybe see increased patterns of meaning. Isn't there a chance that as this broadens out, that there could be a different kind of runaway effect?
So that's where I draw the line, honestly. And the chance exists. I don't want to downplay it, but I think it's remote, and it's not the thing that's on my mind these days, because I think the big revolution is something else. Everything successful in AI to the present date has been extremely specialized, and it's been thriving on a single idea, which is massive amounts of data. The reason why AlphaGo works so well is because of the massive number of Go plays. And AlphaGo can't drive a car or fly a plane. The Google self-driving car or the Udacity self-driving car thrives on massive amounts of data, and it can't do anything else. It can't even control a motorcycle. It's a very specific, domain-specific function, and the same is true for our cancer app. There has been almost no progress on this what we call general AI, where you can go to an AI and say, hey, invent for me spatial relativity or string theory. It's totally in the infancy. The reason why I want to emphasize this, I see the concerns and I want to acknowledge them. But if I were to think about one thing, I would ask myself the question, what if we can take anything repetitive and make ourselves 100 times as efficient? It so turns out, 300 years ago, we all worked in agriculture and did farming and did repetitive things. Today, 75% of us work in offices and do repetitive things. We've become spreadsheet monkeys. And not just low-end labor. We've become dermatologists doing repetitive things, lawyers doing repetitive things. I think we're at the brink of being able to take an AI, look over our shoulders, and they make us maybe 10 or 50 times as effective in these repetitive things. That's what is in my mind.
That sounds super exciting. The process of getting there seems a little terrifying to some people, because once a computer can do this repetitive thing much better, than the dermatologist or than the driver, especially, is the thing that's talked about so much now. Suddenly, millions of jobs go, and the country's in revolution before we ever get to the more glorious aspects of what's possible.
And that's an issue, and it's really an issue, and it was pointed out yesterday morning by several of your speakers. Now, prior to me showing up on stage, I confessed I'm a positive, optimistic person. So let me give you an optimistic pitch, which is think of yourself back, say, 300 years ago. Europe just survived 140 years of continuous war. None of you could read or write. There were no jobs that you hold today, like investment banker or software engineer or TV anchor. We would all be in the fields and farming. And now here comes along little Sebastian with a little steam engine in his pocket. Say, hey guys, look at this guy. It's going to make you guys 100 times as strong so you can do something else. And then back in the day, there was no real stage, but Chris and I hang up with the cows in the stable. And he says, I'm really concerned about it because I milk my cow every day and what a machine does is for me. The reason why I mention this is we're always good in like acknowledging past progress and benefiting from it. We are like our iPhones, our planes, our electricity, our medical supply. We all love to live to 80, which was impossible 3 years ago. But we are kind of don't apply the same rules to the future. So if I look at my own job as a CEO, I would say 90% of my work is repetitive. I don't enjoy it. I spend about 4 hours email per day on stupid repetitive email. And I'm burning to have something that helps me get rid of this. Why? Because I believe all of us are insanely creative. I think the tech community more than anybody else, but even blue collar workers. I think you can go to your hotel mate and have a drink with him or her, and an hour later you find a creative idea. What this willpower is to turn this creativity into action. Like, what if you could build Google in a day? What if you could sit over a beer and invent the next Snapchat, whatever it is, and tomorrow morning it's up and running? And that is not science fiction. What's going to happen is we are already in history. We've unleashed this amazing creativity by de-slaving us from farming in the last, and later, of course, from factory work, and have invented so many things. It's going to be even better, in my opinion. And there's going to be great side effects. One of the side effects will be that things like food and medical supply and education and shelter and transportation will all become much more affordable to all of us, not just the rich people.
So when Martin Ford argued, that this time it's different because the intelligence that we've used in the past to find new ways to be will be matched at the same pace by kind of computers taking over those things. What I hear you saying is that not completely, because of human creativity. Do you think that that's fundamentally different from the kind of creativity that computers can do?
So that's my firm belief as an AI person, that I haven't seen any real progress on creativity and out-of-the-box thinking. What I really see right now, and this is really important for people to realize, because the word artificial intelligence is so threatening, and then we have Steve Spielberg tossing a movie in where all of a sudden the computers are overlords. But it's really a technology. It's a technology that helps us do repetitive things. And the progress has been entirely on the repetitive end. It's in legal document discovery. It's been contract drafting. It's been screening, x-rays of your chest. And these things are so specialized, I don't see the big threat of humanity. In fact, we as people, let's face it, we become superhuman. We've made us superhuman. We can swim across the Atlantic in 11 hours. We can take a device out of our pocket and shout all the way to Australia, and in real time have the person shouting back to us. That's physically not possible. We're breaking the rules of physics. When this is said and done, we're going to remember everything we ever said and seen. We're going to remember every person, which is good for me as my early stages of Alzheimer. Sorry, what did I say? I forgot. We will probably have an IQ of 1,000 or more. There will be no spelling classes for our kids because there's no spelling issue anymore. There's no math issue anymore. And I think what really will happen is that we can be super creative. And we are. We are creative. That's our secret weapon.
So the jobs that are getting lost, in a way, even though it's going to be painful, humans are capable of more than those jobs. This is the dream. The dream is that humans can rise to just a new level of empowerment and discovery. That's the dream.
And think about this. If you look at the history of humanity, that might be 60, 100,000 years old, give and take. Almost everything that you cherish in terms of invention, of technology, of things we built, has been invented in the last 150 years. You toss in the book and the wheels a little bit older, or the axe, but your phone, sneakers, these chairs, modern manufacturing, penicillin, the things we cherish, Now, that to me means the next 150 years we'll find more things. In fact, the pace of invention has gone up, not gone down, in my opinion. I believe only 1% of interesting things have been invented yet, right? We haven't cured cancer. We don't have flying cars yet. Hopefully that changes. Used to be an example people laughed about. It's funny, isn't it? Well, secretly on flying cars. We don't live twice as long yet, okay? We don't have this magic implant in our brains that will give us the information we want. And you might be appalled by it, but I promise you, once you have it, you'll love it. I hope you will. It's a bit scary, I know. There's so many things we haven't invented yet that I think we'll invent. We have no gravity shields. We can't beam ourselves from one location to another. That sounds ridiculous, but about 200 years ago, experts were of the opinion flight wouldn't exist, even 120 years ago. And if you moved faster than you could run, you would instantly die. Right? So who says we are correct today that you can't beam a person from here to Mars?
Sebastian, thank you so much for your incredibly inspiring vision and your brilliance. Thank you, Sebastian. Most fantastic.
So now we're going to take the long view. So the title of this panel is Vision Industry 2020 to 2050. That's way in the future. And our panelists are Rodney Brooks, Tom Cookman, and Andrew McAfee. And why don't I give you the floor first, Rodney?
Oh, thanks, John. So I'm going to talk fairly briefly. I want to start by saying, we've heard a lot about AI today, and I think it's actually been a good meeting because people have been more realistic about the future of AI than in many meetings. But I want to say a few words about the future of AI. I think a lot of people are confused about how powerful AI is right now, how many jobs it could take, what sort of jobs it could take, etc. Because they make some fundamental errors in understanding AI. We've heard about the word suitcase words today. And I think people have gotten very confused about what, I've had VCs say, but does your robot learn? Oh, it learns. That's great. It learns.
I'm just so intrigued to live today. Look at the history of humanity. Almost everything that matters, from our cell phones to the cameras that surround me at this very moment, to our airplane tickets. All that stuff has been invented in the last 150 years. Humanity is like hundreds of thousands of years old, give or take. If you scale this, then the last 150 years have been special. Now, how about the next 50 years? Maybe even more special. I can't wait.
Our next speaker is really one of the highlights of our entire day. Please welcome Sebastian Thrun, founder of Udacity.
Good morning. Oh my God. The reason why Udacity exists is you.
I think people honestly think of him as a rock star in many ways, and I think in reality he's pretty humble.
He's brilliant, he's creative, and he's fearless. Sebastian is really someone who defines that, what we call that 10x thinking, kind of extreme, out of the box, and ambitious outlook on almost any project, to really think about things differently.
I have this dream that if we can make education globally, universally available, it doesn't matter whether we live in the Middle East or in South America, get the same education everywhere, that we can completely transform the world.
He looked at a problem that other people had looked at. How do we educate people better? But he came up with a different framing of it. And I think that's really his genius.
I want to thank all of you for the trust you're putting in us by giving us your time, your attention, and coming here. You guys are my heroes, and we do what we do because of you. Thank you.
I have a present for you that I would like you to.
Oh my God, it's here, 57. Nice. Oh my God. With a battery. Where do you find this? So you did your research. That's awesome. So this is my buddy. Between my age of maybe 12 and 14, I spent every afternoon programming it. It has 50 steps, so it memorizes keystrokes. And I programmed video games, I programmed geometric calculations, and all kinds of stuff.
It's fascinating to work with him because his mind goes at 1,000,000 miles a second, absolute million, and in all kinds of disparate ways.
I'm an odd bird. Maybe I'm socially challenged or what have you, but at a time when computers weren't used by anybody, I came across this programmable calculator, which was slightly more expensive than the non-programmable one, and I developed a passion for lying in bed and just figuring out what can you do with 50 programming steps. Like 50 programming steps is a joke, but basically, but at the time it was actually significant. This thing, by the way, when you switch it off, it erases itself. So the next day you try it, you have to start all over again. So I spent a lot of time, and then I really liked it because at the time it was intriguing that there was something around me, my world, that told you to do something if you did it. And with everyone else around, my siblings and so on, they would say do this, and they would never do it. So I had a partner, I had a friend. I did this as a little bit later, got a real computer. To do real programming at a bigger scale. So it has this huge floppy disk drive, and it's a kilobyte of memory, whatever it was. And there I started programming until I was about 16 or so. And then something bizarre happened. I kind of lost interest a little bit. And the reason I lost interest is I became more interested in people, and I always felt that while computers do exactly what you tell them to do, that's what the nuances of human interaction and is a much more fascinating thing. So when I went to college, I did choose computers. I dabbled in biology, medicine, I do
Yo, XL, what's up?
In a whole bunch of psychology, a whole bunch of disciplines that do with people. Like, I think this is maybe a small version of a person, it's a bigger version of a person. There must be some commonality. Like, how can we decipher the machine over here in its complexity and get it to the level over here? And the field that did this at the time was called artificial intelligence.
The first time I encountered Sebastian, I guess, was via email. He had been enrolled at Bonn University in Germany as a PhD student, and he was interested in spending some time at Carnegie Mellon.
Artificial intelligence was in its infancy. It's not a very famous field in English today, but people in artificial intelligence, they really want to understand how the human brain works and how can we put a brain into a machine. That's how I became an AI researcher.
And this is a very powerful calculator.
Because we are now moving into the era of household computers.
I mean, the idea is that eventually everyone will use a computer as a very important tool.
What will life really be like in the next century? Reed Simmons and Sebastian Thrun are with Carnegie Mellon University's Robotics Institute, and they're here with one of their creations, Flo, the nurse bot. Gentlemen, good morning, and Flo, hello.
Hi, Katie.
Now, obviously, this is a prototype. When do you expect robots like Flo, Sebastian, to actually be in nursing homes or hospitals or private homes?
I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see something happening here. We're going to see these robots coming. It's not a question of the if anymore. It's just a question of the when.
He really does believe in an optimistic world. His world of AI is not controlled by all these robots that are going to take us out of jobs. It's just not.
I felt if we in Silicon Valley only build these crazy technologies and monetize them and get very rich, then we're leaving people behind. And that's not good.
I'm Associate Professor of Computer Science at Stanford University, and I'm the leader of the Stanford Racing Team.
My very first thing I did in Stanford was building a self-driving car. And we competed in something called DARPA Grand Challenge. DARPA Grand Challenge took place in 2005, and it was basically an autonomous car robot race through the Mojave Desert.
In this race, if you make a mistake in finding the road, you fall on a cliff, you run into a rock. So finding the road and just finding out where it is was the hardest thing we faced.
Almost 200 teams had stood in line to participate with the idea that the team that could build a car that could drive 130 miles autonomously the fastest would be $2 million.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's been done. How about that?
My team handed be the lucky winner for whatever reason, Stanford team.
This is the beginning. We have shown that we can build cars that can drive themselves. The impossible has been achieved. Now it's just a matter of time until it happens, and we will have my promise.
And we got the attention of the Google founders, yeah. So Larry came to the race himself and came disguised with like a hat and sunglasses so he wouldn't be bothered by everybody. But he had a keen interest in this. Larry has been a believer in this technology for much longer than I even knew. And so is Sergey. And they really want to understand what's going on.
42,000 people die every year in the United States in traffic accidents. It's the #1 cause of death aged 3 to 33. It's huge.
We had the next version of a self-driving car for something called Urban Challenge. And in that process, we did something really interesting. We had a camera on the roof that looked in all directions, like a spherical camera, like 360. And we were recording video, mostly for debugging purposes, that we could sit down in the evening and say, why did the car do this? And pull the video and say, oh, that's fine. And then we realized the video is actually amazing. So born was the idea of Street View. So we went back to Google and said, hey, we'd love to build or help you build Street View. And we kind of felt like an acquisition of a little startup company kind of Stanford transitioning into Google, where me and 4 of my grad students then became Street View enthusiasts. And we built up Street View and with a singular vision to photograph every street in the world.
For people like myself who are not as smart as he is, you have to kind of keep up with it. But it's this insatiable curiosity and creativity that I love working with. And you just get to learn a lot. So if I'm with Sebastian, I'm on this wild ride of incredible learning.
Google also getting lots of attention today for the launch of its new Street View feature.
We're building a website that's helping people communicate in a completely different way.
The confidence in this marketplace continues to deteriorate. Google is developing a robo-car that drives itself.
We started Google X with the self-driving car project. And the idea was to really kind of build an innovation center that has authority to just do crazy things. We had a separate building that no one knew about. At least for a year and a half, no one had a clue we existed.
He was I believe, a Google fellow. I had heard about that reputation and heard that it was a kind of a fairly visionary position.
I think it's exciting to be doing this project, specifically at Google, because it shows that Google is taking big bets for the future.
People know that Google's quirky and that odd things happen around that campus. But I don't think at the time people fully embraced the idea that this was going to become something that affected broader society anytime soon. It was just sort of those quirky Google people working on something.
When we started the self-driving car project, Larry in particular, of course Sergey and Eric, really kind of came to me and said, Sebastian, you should do it.
3 of us worked hard to systematize innovation. That is, we didn't want to just have an idea. We wanted to let people have ideas and just do them and have hits over and over again.
I even thought at the time it might not even be possible to drive it in a public safety. And Larry, in his infinite wisdom, said, okay, Sebastian, prove to me it's not possible, which I couldn't. And then he and Sergey sat down for half a day and carved out 1,000 miles in California that are really hard to drive, like downtown San Francisco, Lombard Street, Highway 1 to Los Angeles, and streets that are really insanely hard to drive. And said, look, if you drive those well and completely autonomous, then you make a bonus. All right, interesting. Okay, but it can't be done. We talked to this, and he basically said, look, it can be done, people can do it, just do it. And to my complete surprise, blows our minds, about 15 months later, a team of 12 engineers did it.
Today he's going to talk about something. This is a new, wie sagt man, ein Durchbruch, a groundbreaking, a breakthrough of, something that, could shake up the world of the universities, the way education is looked at today. And I'm very happy that you're going to talk about this amazing project. Come up on stage, Sebastian Thrun.
I'm not going to talk about cars. I'm not going to talk about Google X. I just want to tell you a story that changed my life in a really profound way. And the story starts at TED, where I met Maria. There was a speaker whose name was Salman Khan.
Yes, so it was a TED. I listened to a young fellow named Saul Khan who started something called Khan Academy. And he was like an investment banker, had no teaching credentials, but his teaching videos went viral. He had like tens of millions of students. And I was sitting at Stanford with my typical class of like 50 and thinking, God damn it, I can't do that. So I went to my co-instructor, we were just about to teach a class on artificial intelligence, and asked him, hey, what do you think of putting this class online? He said, let's do it. So we wrote an email to all our colleagues and said, if your students want to take this artificial intelligence class, they can sign up over here and take it. We expected maybe, I don't know, 500 students at best to show up. This is all Friday afternoon. Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, 5,000 students. Sunday morning, 10,000 students. Monday morning, 14,000 students. When my dean found out about it, and he gave me a phone call and said, come to my office, please, Sebastian, because the blogosphere was praising Stanford for finally abandoning tuition. Lo and behold, when everything was said and done, we had 160,000 students. Of those 160,000 students, 23,000 graduated. And when they graduated, we stack ranked those students with the Stanford students. You give them the same exam, the same work assignments, you could really compare them. The top 412 students were not at Stanford. The single best Stanford student was number 413.
I was at Stanford, the world's best university, and I was a great teacher. Having done this, I can't teach at Stanford again. I feel like there's a red pill and a blue pill, and you can take the blue pill and go back to your classroom and lecture your 20 students. But I've taken the red pill, and I've seen Wonderland.
It was kind of like a calling for me. I hadn't anticipated that I'd become an online instructor or CEO of a company, a founder of a company that wants to democratize education. But when I realized that with this one class, I had more teaching impact in this specific quarter than like the entire academic field combined in the entire world, I realized, my God, something has to be done. I was head of Google X. My name was in the news at least 3 times a week for something. And here I am giving up 97% of my salary.
Our next guest gave up his tenure at Stanford University to try to democratize higher education with his company, Udacity. You did an experiment back in 2011 where you put one of your classes online. You offered the Introduction to Artificial Intelligence. Who showed up to see that class?
To my complete surprise, we got 160,000 students to show up.
Whenever somebody's going to be the founder of an organization like this, they obviously have a vision for a need that's not yet been met or a vision of what the future is going to look like.
Udacity was definitely pretty far ahead at that time of doing very short video segments interspersed with quizzes or challenges. And that seemed like the thing that we should definitely be doing.
So we launched these massive online courses, and the first one had 160,000. So we hoped that the second one would get 500,000 students. And to our surprise, it only got 90,000 students. We launched another one, and only got 5,000 students. So while we are being celebrated as the big disruptor, the heroes of the world who finally brings education in the 21st century, the numbers didn't work.
The vision that we had earlier on, I wasn't sure was going to work, to be perfectly honest. I think we went through a really hard time.
So we teamed up with the local university and made the decision to offer credit-bearing courses, credit-equivalent currency in the college system, credit-bearing courses publicly online for a small fee. So we said, just start them $150. That's enough money. We're not that greedy. And that unfortunately fell flat in the face. Fell flat in the face because teacher unions didn't like that idea. The teacher unions told me, look, Sebastian, don't take this personally, but if you reduce tuition by 90%, our 44,000 employees that we represent won't be employed for much longer. So you're now enemy of state number 1.
We were seen as monsters.
The New York Times called our work a flop. On the front page above the fold, so you have to flip it over to find whether I'm a flop. The Financial Times picked it up, and without talking to us,
said that we are temporarily going out of business. What I hadn't realized is I was at the perfect storm.
We asked a number of university presidents to come and represent the old world of education on stage today.
Yo, what's up? Damn, it's almost an hour and a half already. I would say I'm finished with this, and I'm basically unfinished, except that there's one spot I can't really finish right now. So I want these blue patches here to be solid blue like that, but you can see the red bleeding through it a little bit. That's because the red is still really wet. You can see the red coming through there. But once this dries completely, maybe a day or so, I'll be able to go back over it with that blue and fill this in completely and get those spots to be nice and solid blue. And then that's it. Like once I get this little section right here and get these little highlights filled in all the way, I'm done, son. It's weird. I always think my paintings up close look like a bunch of bullshit. Just like what the fuck is that? Up close is just like a bunch of little sparks. That shit don't even look like shit. That shit look weird up close. To me it does. But then when you pull away, it's just like, oh, that shit is a painting. I just seen that. Let me see. Oh, my hand ain't steady enough. Oh, canvas is wet. Where's my sticker? Come on, right there. ass trouble, better call DW. Better watch out, you bad boys. Like I said, this is gonna have to dry for a while until I can really get it how I want it. But it's basically done. I'll set it to the side. You know what I'm saying? It'll be alright. It'll be alright for a little minute. I'll give it like a day or so. I want to post a picture of that bitch now though. But I'll wait. Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm about to take this off the easel. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out which one should I paint next. I was planning on doing this one. I need somewhere to set. I gotta pull another easel out real quick. Or no. What if I set this here? Oh shit. Don't fuck it up. Work on this one next. Yo, Alex, what it do, bro? Oh, that's what it is, actually. This might be the next Prince masterpiece. More phone, that right. Same old shit, dude. Same old shit. I can't call it. Yeah, I've been working on this one for a minute, yo. It came out pretty good. It's not all the way finished. There's still like a little bit more I gotta do to it, just because some of the paint isn't dry. So I'm gonna let it dry for like a day or so maybe, and hit it with a quick touch up. And this should be a wrap right here. I like this piece, yo. I had a lot of fun working on it. It's different. It looks cool as shit. You know what I'm saying? I like it, yo. Oh shit, come on. Come on, man. Oh, come on, dude. What the fuck? Word to mother. Oh, that was it. It wasn't going to like play no the next beat. That bullshit. I don't celebrate holidays, bro. I sat right in here and worked on that painting.
Kind of turn the lights off.
Yes.
On.
Yes.
Off.
Yes.
On.
Yes.
Off. On.
Yes.
Off.
Yes.
On.
Yes.
On. Off.
Yes.
I work with a group at Oxford University.
always look forward to a new year. You know, everybody does. You live through another year. You know what I'm saying? Another 365 days. But do I celebrate that shit? Do I go out and get drunk just because it's New Year's? Like, nah. Like, I don't do shit like that, bro. I do shit when I want to, not when society tells me it's a special day and I ought to do the same thing that everyone else is doing because it's this day. That shit never made any fucking sense to me even as a child, yo. I've always thought like this about certain things, like going along with what everybody else does, yo. Like, I seen this one social experiment where it's a waiting room for a doctor's office or something, and there's one controlled subject, and everyone else is like a part of the experiment. And so there's a waiting room. Several people are sitting down. The one controlled subject comes in and sits down among all the actors. They don't know what's going on. A bell goes off. Everybody in the room stands up and then sits back down. And the one person is looking around at these motherfuckers like, what the fuck is they doing? And a few minutes later, the bell goes off again. And everyone stands up. And then everyone sits down. And the motherfucker is looking like, what the fuck are they doing? And like by the third or fourth time when the bell goes off, then this person stands up with everyone else. Nobody told them to. No one gave this person instructions to do anything. No one mandated it or forced them. They didn't sign any agreements. And they just did it because everyone else was doing that shit. I've never been like that, bro. And I don't see why people follow traditions. I was done with church. Like, by the time I was 10, 11 years old, I was already done with like church and all that shit, because everybody does it and nobody can tell me why. Why do we all do this shit? Kangaroos and boomerangs. Shit. I seen that one dude, that kangaroo attack his dog, and he punched that kangaroo. I thought the kangaroo was about to fuck his ass up, son. And then the other video when the kangaroo was knocking at the dude's glass window. Yo, I'm not fucking with them kangaroos, man. You know what I'm saying? I got wallabies and dingoes and all that shit, man. Man, the outback's dangerous, son. You know what I'm saying? I throw a fucking boomerang, though. I learned how to throw a boomerang. I had a cool-ass fucking gym teacher in high school, yo. That motherfucker taught us a lot of cool shit, yo. We had a fucking archery class in high school, yo. Boomerang throwing, motherfucking, what's some other cool-ass shit? Yeah, our school was so high-tech, we had a computer lab in our fucking gym. That shit, we had computers everywhere back then. I was like, what the fuck, yo? But yeah, boomerangs and kangaroos and shit. That's how it used to be. Like, yo, pouring out for my homies. Happy New Year, motherfuckers. And I was like, what the fuck, man? The way I'm up now early like this, bro, I'm asleep every night, yo. I'm in bed like 10:30. You know what I'm saying? If I do hang out with my homies, man, I'm home like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't be fucking doing all that shit. That's part. Yeah, man. I don't know. Just I like birthdays. Those are fun. I give gifts on birthdays because that is the one day of the year for that special event for that one individual person. You know what I'm saying? So that's always cool. But like any other shit, yo, I just don't get it. I don't get holidays. That's all it is, bro. It's just another fucking day. You know what I'm saying? Once again, just knowing the fact that, boom, I made it through another calendar year. You know what I'm saying? I might make it through another fucking decade. I might make it through another 2 decades. You know what I'm saying? And just watching the calendar just go by, having all those memories, built up, all that time spent with family, loved ones, friends, doing whatever you have a passion for. I always like that shit, y'all. I like being alive. It's exciting. You know what I'm saying? I like waking up every morning and just knowing that, I can compare, calendars, what I did 5 years ago compared to what I did last year. You know what I'm saying? So that's always good. But other than that, I don't have to go out and get fucking hammered and spend a lot of money at a bar or restaurants and be in a crowd of people to enjoy the fact that it's a new year. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to wait till fucking December the 25th to give somebody I care about a gift. You know what I'm saying? Because I have money in April, May, June, July, August, September. So if I feel like giving a gift, I'll just give a gift. I don't have to wait till a certain day. Unless it's your birthday, So what movie? I got all I basically got is Netflix, yo. I keep thinking about getting like, what is it, Hulu and Vuvu and all that other shit. Maybe even Crunchyroll because I really like anime. But I don't know, man. I think because we pay for cable and I swear we don't watch TV. It's a waste. I need to figure out a way to just get our cable cut off and just have the internet. The only reason we keep cable is because literally The Walking Dead. We just like watching the new episodes when they come out the day of. And now some people say there is different ways that you can stream live. I think even did Netflix or YouTube say you can stream The Walking Dead live?
Running this thing called the Future of Humanity Institute, which maybe I should just say a couple of words because it's a sort of slightly grandiose name. But we are about 20 people, mathematicians, computer scientists, philosophers, and our remit is to try to think carefully about the really big picture questions for humanity, and in particular, what technologies might fundamentally change the human condition. So what kind of thing would count as a fundamental change in the human condition? You could argue that if we look back over history, there has really only been two events that have fundamentally changed the human condition. The first being the agricultural revolution from 10 or 12,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, where we transitioned from being hunter-gatherers, small bands roaming around, to settling into cities, domesticating crops and animals. With that, you get social stratification.
That's in a collection. My collection ain't really big, but my collection is dope as fuck, son. I don't got nothing but classic movies in my collection.
Higher population densities, specialization.
Mel Gibson was on that racist shit. Whatever. This is a fucking classic. He did that right there, yo. This shit right here. This deserves to be in your collection, yo. This is one of them shits. You can watch this shit a couple times, yo. I'm telling you.
Have the rate of economic and technological.
Poked the little girl with a stick. She was like, "The Jaguar man will rise from the mud, and he will lead you to your end." At the end of the movie, they run out to the coastline. See them fucking Spaniards coming. Like, yeah, bitch. She said he gonna lead you right to your death, yo. I'm telling you, that prophecy was crazy as fuck, yo. That shit was crazy. You're already tainted with fear. I never taught you fear, but that was your first time seeing that shit. There was a lot of dope ass, deep ass messages in this movie, yo. But it's not for everybody because you gotta read this subtitle. And some good ass fucking actors, yo. Like, I don't know how he got this fucking cast of motherfuckers, yo. But that shit was crazy, son. The whole cast was good actors. Little boy, his mom fell down in the pit. He done got that big ass gash. She took these big ass fucking ants, made motherfucking Sutures out that, not sutures, but staples out that shit. Yeah, that shit was crazy. What? Oh yeah. I'm telling you, yo. Motherfuckers is crazy. Yo, he gave the old man gave the fat boy the flowers. He's like, no, don't eat it. Don't eat it. Rub it down, eh? Trust me, bro. I done seen almost everything dealing with the pyramids. I've already seen that shit. Rub it down, eh? Girl come out the house. Ah! He come out the house. Ah! Oh shit! That shit was funny as shit, yeah. I don't know why they kept picking on the big dude, man. Nah, man, you want that strength, man. You gotta eat the nuts, yo. Yeah, but the pyramid codes, man. I listened to a lot of Robert Bauval, Kawazi, damn, I forgot my man name, yo. Ashura, Kawazi Ashura, I think his name. Who else talk about the pyramids a lot, yo? Graham Hancock. Yeah, they what they saying is, man, so that lead guy, that lead Egyptologist, what's his fucking name? Let me see. Hawass. This Hawass dude, like, this motherfucker is...
To more closely examine the subjects of this heated debate, John Quinones takes us inside one of the world's great treasures.
Yeah, Zahi. So I was listening to Zahi, like really trying to get into that shit, man. But then, like, realize, like, just even if you just listen to Hawass, you already see, like, this motherfucker ain't really trying to tell you the true history about that shit. And then, man, you get motherfuckers that really do want to tell you the truth. And the truth is, you know what I'm saying? All this, you can listen to this documentary called Black Mummies. Damn. Let me there it is. Yo, there's this documentary called Black Mummies of the Green Sahara. You listen to that, it's a European trying to give the information and evidence, so they're always going to try to ingrain themselves as deep back in history as they can. And she says that, you know, there are already lighter skinned European phenotypes in the area during this period that she was talking. But more than likely, there really wasn't at that time, not that far back in history. So it's kind of like it. She has to give the information, but it's kind of disinformation at the same time. And it's weird how they do that. Like, most people really do that, but even this documentary will tell you, like, where the founding information from Egypt came from. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers look at the Giza Plateau and study all 18 dynasties of the Egyptian culture and all that shit. But it's like, all right, we can't figure out the pyramids exactly, but it took thousands of years of compiled knowledge to even get to that point. It's not like some civilization just sprang up and then, and you know, in 100 years or 3 or 4 generations they had the knowledge to build pyramids. You know what I'm saying? That's thousands of years of knowledge of architecture, construction, blueprints, design. That's thousands of years of compiled knowledge it took to get to that point. Now, where did that knowledge originate from? And if you listen to the Black Mummies of the Green Nile, that'll put you up on some shit. But once again, it's a European presenting information. And then there's this other documentary called Cocaine Mummies. Now, this is just establishing, not really dealing with the pyramid code itself, but the culture that created and that's the whole point. Like, where did this knowledge come from? Okay, we got this pyramid code and we got all these mysteries about it and but who came up with all this shit? You know what I'm saying? So you watch this other documentary called The Cocaine Mummies. You got the coca leaf is has a very specific habitat it grows in, and that shit is really only found in like Central and South America, yo. Naturally, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just where the coca plant grows, yo. That shit don't grow in Asia Minor, and Europe, and the Middle East, Africa. The cocaine just doesn't grow there. You know what I'm saying? It's not indigenous to that area. But you had this one scientist doing some sample studies of whatever they were, some tissue studies from some mummies, yo. These mummies like 6,000 years old. You know what I'm saying? And she was finding trace samples of cocaine in a system in Egypt. She like, yo, maybe the test might be wrong or something. You know what I'm saying? So she did some other samples, and the shit keep coming back with cocaine and tobacco in their systems. How the fuck was these Egyptians getting cocaine, yo? You know what I'm saying? So that's already expanding their culture more, because they already had trade and commerce with motherfucking South America, yo, to make contact with whoever was trading this plant, who was growing and harvesting this plant. You know what I'm saying? So you gather all that information, and then you start talking about, you know, this culture, these people. Why did they build these megalithic structures? You know what I'm saying? And why did they make it so hard for themselves? I mean, you have blocks that weigh tons, 2-3 ton blocks. Where, okay, if you have a good understanding of fucking architecture and engineering, we don't build our buildings with that shit. You know what I'm saying? We're so advanced. We use small bricks or maybe mid-sized center blocks. You know what I'm saying? And we use very simple techniques to build structures. You know what I'm saying? Small, manageable blocks. Why didn't y'all build y'all pyramids like that? It would have been way easier. Just with little blocks. You had to make more of them, but it would have been easier to construct. You know what I'm saying? But they used these big ass stones, and they were able to move that shit like it wasn't no problem. Like it wasn't no problem. Ain't no aliens, man. Brandon, what's good, yo? But nah, man, they use sound harmonics to move shit around. That wasn't no alien technology, man. That's what I'm saying. That's everybody. When you think of a dark-skinned, black, negroid, African man having the knowledge and understanding to construct this shit, nobody can't accept that shit. They just like, it was probably aliens or something. Aliens came down and did that. You know what I'm saying? Africans didn't do that, but yo, black people had the know-how to do that shit. They had the understanding of the masonry skills to do that shit, yo. Oh well, that's what they say too. Is that the whole plateau is a motherfucking a physical representation of the fucking sky, yo. And then one dude broke that shit down like, man, he gave all these crazy ass mathematics, and he was like, yo, this is a map. The Giza Plateau is a map to fucking Alpha Centauri. I cannot find that video again, y'all. I tried to find it, but how he laid that shit out, it I don't know. It kind of made sense. I mean, because most cultures with any type of spiritual, you know, a spiritual understanding, they always say that, you know, they were created and their creators came from, you know, above, from heaven or from space or from a star, or that's how most cultures depict it, as, you know, something above us came down and created us. And so how this dude broke it down was like, yo, he's like, man, the Egyptians figured that they knew where their creator God came from, and they understood how to get there, and so they arranged these buildings, this city, in a certain way as to be a celestial representation, you know, a celestial map represented in physical form on the surface of the planet to direct you to a certain place in the fucking stars. And the Grand Pyramid was a vehicle that would take your spirit to the home of our creators. It's weird. I know it sounds weird, yo, but it's crazy. But that's yo wasabi. Oh yeah, they definitely was. Yeah, sound vibrations. So sound, certain harmonic frequencies can actually have reverse effects on gravity, dude, and just make things levitate using certain sound frequencies. And if you can tune in to the right frequency, you can make shit float, basically. And even drill holes and make different kind of tools just using sound. There's several good videos about it. Let's see. So basically what they're doing is this right here.
Merry Christmas.
So it's very easy to levitate things using sound. These drops are actually suspended in midair. You can see how they're acting when against the sound, the vibrations of the sound waves.
All right, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Smarter Every Day. I'm not obligated. Drop is determined by 2 times the surface tension divided by the radius. If the drop gets too big, what happens?
It explodes. So
It explodes.
wait a
We're
minute.
recording
It
high-speed
just gave you the equation for it.
Clark.
Tiana?
I'm Nick. All right, so we're not going to pretend like these guys don't know what's up because we've already done a segment and they're actually, you know how this works now, right?
Yeah.
You want to pro? Yeah. Okay. Come over here and let's show everybody how it works.
It looks to me like it's an amp.
Okay.
And when I turn up the amplitude, the sound waves through the horns will come down against each other and it'll make a column where you can actually suspend liquid or things of physical.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Did he get it right? There's an equation that dictates how big a raindrop can be. Okay, so the pressure that's on the inside of the drop is determined by 2 times the surface tension divided by the radius. If the drop gets too big, what happens?
It explodes.
It explodes. We're recording high-speed video of these drops that we're levitating, and then we're ramping up the amplitude, which is the same as changing the pressure, right? And so once we do that, the pressure gets so great that the surface tension can't hold the drop together anymore, and then it just ruptures. It overcomes that internal pressure, and you get an explosion.
So there you go. It's physical science. You can make shit levitate using sound. So that one instrument, that Aboriginal instrument that guy was blowing, that horn that made that really deep sound and made the paper, even though he's forcing air out of the tube, the vibration is still causing the paper to come towards the source of the sound itself. So let's say maybe an instrument just like that, and some kind of special tuning fork attached that would amplify the vibrational waves that came from the instrument. And let's say you have like 10 highly trained technicians who know this craft and this art, and they all have these very specialized instruments that are acoustically magnified by some type of amplifier or tuning fork system or something, and they all are very proficient in producing this very precise sound frequency, and they aim their tools at the base of a block, and they all start at the same time, and you don't think that fucking block will float? And now you got these motherfuckers just walking with their tools, just blowing like, woo, not even touching the block. When they move, the fucking block just moves. They lift their tools up, the block comes up with that shit, and they just fucking let, 2-ton block right in place. Didgeridoo. That's what that is. And that's not the future though. That's the past. You know what I'm saying? Old ass technology. Once again, the same way with fucking being able to quarry big ass stones like that. You motherfucking take your tuning fork and create, construct it in such a way where there's a point at the end of it, you know what I'm saying, and have a certain frequency. And now this tuning fork is moving like a fucking jackhammer. You can split rocks, motherfucking perfect symmetry, perfect lines, drill holes, all with sound. And it's like, well, they didn't leave tools behind. Well, you know what I'm saying? They ain't had many tools, man. That shit's probably gone. Word. And once again, I mean that knowledge it take thousands of years to come up with that shit. Who was coming up with this magical knowledge? You know what I'm saying? The original people, man. And we still hate to think about different technologies like that being applied by such a primitive people so long ago. You know what I'm saying? But now they just starting to rediscover technology like that, sound wave levitation. Yeah, but the pyramid codes is on some crazy shit, yo. The pyramid codes is on some crazy shit, yo. I say, you can listen to Robert Bauval. He has a lecture called Black Genesis. That shit is deep.
At gunpoint. I'm not letting that thing out of my sight ever again. So we're dealing with some ancient knowledge that's giving us a very clear indication of how we can use this ancient technology into the future. Keep in mind, what have we got in our eyes? In our eyes, we have rods and cones in our retina, right? What are the cones in our retina connected to? The optic nerve is connected to? Right in the middle of your brain is your pineal gland. Correct. So somehow our pineal gland should be controlling our eyes and our optic nerve. And our pineal gland should be picking up all these other frequencies, the all-seeing eye of Horus, connecting us to everything, every frequency, and giving
the incredible, the mysterious Great Sphinx, speaking to us in riddles down the ages. This is
Graham Hancock right here. I listen to him a lot, yeah.
That shaft. 165 feet up the shaft, the robot came to this door with two metal handles. Rudolf Gantenbrink was immediately banned from doing any further work in Egypt and was sent away. The project was taken over by the Egyptian government. Some years later, Zahi Hawass sent another robot up the shaft with a mission to drill through that door and find out what was on the other side. And there we go. There's the drill. There's the door. There's the hole that they made. You know what they found on the other side? A space and another door. It's like an invitation. Search me. The pyramid is saying, search me, but I'm not going to make it easy for you. You're really going to have to figure this thing out. We still don't know what's at the end of that shaft. Okay, so we're going to come out of the Queen's Chamber, back along the horizontal corridor. Now we're looking at the Grand Gallery, 153 feet long, 28 feet high. This is called a Corbel vault. Each level protrudes slightly over the level below it and narrows up towards the ceiling. Well, these blocks weigh about 70 tons each. They're laid at an angle of 26 degrees. You can't get a sheet of paper between the joints. They're unbelievably precise. It's like being compared to opticians' work on a scale of acres. An astonishing feat of construction. The work of giants, really.
Yeah, I do believe in the third eye.
I appreciate the introduction. This evening we're going to talk about something called melanin. It's what everyone is concerned about in the world. It's what they have a meeting about every 3 to 5 years. Germany, Italy, France, U.S., they meet every 3 to 5 years and have a melanin convention and discuss the latest research in melanin. We call nutrient density. The idea has to come from this air. It helps me get through a day, but I know it's not real, it's just a theory. Absorb in your eyes. That's why your eyes, that's the pigment that feeds the full color. You see this color, where white folks see a paler tint. So we've had our own melanin conferences where we discuss this information.
I think it's the same one.
I appreciate the introduction. This evening we're going to talk about something called melanin. It's what everyone is concerned about in the world. It's what they have a meeting about every 3 to 5 years. Germany, Italy, France, U.S., they meet every 3 to 5 years and have a melanin convention and discuss the latest research in melanin. They have never invited a black scientist to that meeting in history. So we have had our own melanin conferences where we discuss this information involving melanin. Melanin is commonly associated with the pigment that causes your skin to be brown. So we figure that that's what melanin is about. But it's a little more than just the pigment that makes your skin brown. It's what we call the chemical key to life. The more melanin you have, the more civilized you are. The more melanin you have, the more psychic you are. The more melanin you have, the more information your brain can store. The more melanin you have, the faster the nerve transmissions are. The more melanin you have, the more sound you absorb in your ear, so you hear the full range of sound. No other race can do that. The more melanin you have, the more color you can absorb in your eyes. That's why your eyes are brown. You actually see the full color. You see this color, where white folks see a paler tan, because the more melanin you have, the more you can see what God has meant for you to see. The more melanin you have in your taste buds, the more you can taste the full flavor of the food. No other race can taste an apple like you can, because they can't absorb the full flavor, because you need melanin to absorb the full flavor of food. That's why we combine food differently from other races, because we actually can taste the food. That's because of the high amount of melanin we have, which we sometimes take for granted. Melanin is the chemical key to life. There is nothing else to study in science but melanin. We call it chemi, which means black. The people who study melanin particles call what they're studying, the science is called chemistry, which you call chemistry, the study of melanin particles that go around in an orbit, and we call them electrons, protons, solitons. Those are melanin particles. That's why we call it chemistry. And the country you come from is called Kemet, which some people call Egypt. There's nothing else to study but melanin. And if you study chemistry or heard of chemistry and haven't heard the word melanin, you have just been studying social science. You go into a classroom and you call it biology, but biology is the way melanin controls the cell. And we call that little melanin sitting in the cell the new sun, the nucleus. The new sun radiates information and tells the cell how to operate, how to think, how to digest. That's melanin. Biology is the study of melanin and how it communicates. There's nothing else to study if you're going into the living sciences. Melanin plays a part in your historical memory. The more melanin you have, the more you're connected to your ancestors. You can pull on thoughts that you didn't even know were there because melanin gives you ancestral memory. That's based on melanin. That's how we classify races, based on their melanin content. It's not the quality of melanin in your skin we're talking about. Doesn't mean a light-skinned brother is less black than you are. We're talking about the melanins produced inside their body by the pineal gland. That's the melanin we measure. Every living thing has to have melanin. White people have it, but that's the melanin we measure. In your skin we're talking about. Doesn't mean a light-skinned brother is less black than you are. We're talking about the melanins produced inside their body by the pineal gland. In your skin we're talking about. Doesn't mean a light-skinned brother is less black than you are. We're talking about the melanins produced inside their body by the pineal gland. That's the melanin we measure. Every living thing has to have melanin. White people have it, but they have a lesser amount. And their melanin is different from your melanin. Their melanin has sulfur in the middle. Your melanin has selenium in the middle. There are two different types of melanin that could not biologically come down the same tree. That's physiologically impossible for a white person to evolve from a black person. There's two different melanins. That's why every scientist says the theory of evolution. Never say it's a fact. Never say it's the theory of evolution. It's not a fact. Theories are something you need to just get through the day. I have a theory that I'm going to be a millionaire. It helps me get through the day. But I know it's not real. It's just a theory. And we use theories just to get through information in science. It just helps us to focus stuff. But we know they're not facts. So we never say the fact of evolution. It's a theory. It helps us focus our information, get through some research. That's all. And when we finish with the theory, we throw it away. But you pick it up and think it's a real thing. This is really a fact. No, it is not. Just stuff we make to get through the day, keep us focused. The theory of evolution, the theory of the speed of light, the theory of gravity, the theory of this and that. They're all theories. Can't prove none of it. Theories. Listen, you know many of them, but you know few facts. And we're talking about the fact of melanin. We're not talking about theories right now. We know more about theories about science than we know about science. We say a theory. What comes around goes around. That's a theory. What goes up must come down. That light's up there. Why don't it fall down on the ground? You say what goes up must come down. Why don't that light fall down? What are you talking about? What goes up doesn't have to come down. That's a theory. So we know those theories, but we got to concentrate on the fact here. Melanin is the biochemical key to life. It helps you metabolize carbohydrates. because you use less energy to make energy, which we call conversion reactions. Less energy to make energy. We efficiently make energy because we have this melanin. Melanin is a polymer. Poly means many. It has many characters. There's gas melanin, there's liquid melanin, there's crystallized melanin. And the one thing about melanin is it can be in two places at the same time. It's the only chemical that can do that. Melanin has memory. You can't destroy melanin. Melanin starts the foundation for any idea has to come from this darkness, come from this silence. This whole planet is sitting inside of melanin gas. It's dark out there. You think if you go outside the atmosphere of the Earth, there'll be sunshine everywhere. No, it's not. It's dark. And that's melanin gas. Everything comes from this dark silence called melanin. You have to go deep within, as they say.
But your pineal gland secretes melatonin and serotonin. Now, your pineal gland is also what some would call your third eye, or the gateway to the the spiritual realm. Some people think that taking psychedelics can amplify your pineal gland and take you on a cosmic journey and shit like that. Taking peyote or ayahuasca, or some people even say acid. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but your pineal gland and your third eye are synonymous. And that's why at Indian cultures, the dadis, that signifies their third eye. They always put that dot on their head for their spiritual eye. Like you say though, the more melanin you have in your skin, the more active your pineal gland is. The more active your pineal gland is, the more open you are to different energies that otherwise you may not be aware of consciously. That maybe somewhere in between conscious and your subconscious, you will have things like premonitions or deja vu or motherfucking shifting, all different kind of things like that can happen if you. And some people say that they can train themselves to utilize that ability of having a highly active pineal gland. So yeah, a lot of meditation, and it's a whole lifestyle thing, man. Diet change too. The pineal gland can become calcified by your diet and less productive. I mean, I like listening to this stuff right here. I know I have a very diverse audience. Dr. Africa, he be on some straight black people shit. And I don't know, but it's good information though, because he talks about the properties of melanin and how it affects your pineal gland, and what is melanin, what is melatonin. And this lecture is pretty good. And it's weird, like this dude is from South Carolina, and I'm from South Carolina, but I was never made aware of this man until like now in my adult life. Like nobody was listening to this shit when I was younger. Like Chancellor Williams is from South Carolina. Like nobody was reading that shit when I was younger. And now I look back and look at my elders, my aunts, and my uncles, and my community, and the generations that came before me, and I look at them like everybody has been miseducated because nobody I know even knew this information well enough to tell it to me. You know what I'm saying? And give me a better outlook on how society really works and how different things really work so I can make my own way in life. The thymus gland? Now you got me on something. Explain that, sir. Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We got our good friend Google. Okay, I have heard of this before. This is what is affected by the autoimmune deficiency syndrome. The thymus gland, despite containing glandular tissue and producing several hormones, is much more closely associated with the immune system than the endocrine system. The thymus serves a vital role in the training and development of T lymphocytes, or T cells, an extremely important type of white blood cell. Yeah, and it's a chakra point is here. Yeah. Okay. Then you listen to fucking like Dr. Sebi, man. Dr. Sebi say everything, man. Your center chakra and your gut, man, and your throat chakra, yo. That shit just what keeps you healthy, yo. Anything from fucking brain cancer to glaucoma. Wait a minute. Very interesting. Chakra, the singer, not Shakira. This dude. See, I just learned something today. My man, that's 20 cool points for Exile. You know, that's you got 20 cool points for that. I think I might. Oh, I'm almost at 3 hours.
In a climate where the Europeans have done a lot of anthropological studies of other people. They studied American Indians, they studied African, our ancestors, they studied tribes lost somewhere in Australia, but no one has actually sat down and studied the Europeans. No one has gone into looking at the European from an anthropological standard, how they really are, where they really came from. What is the nature of this person? What is the nature of this tribe, this clan, this family? So what I'm going to do is give you a background into nutritional causes of what we call today racism. Now, the Europeans came from somewhere, first of all. They claim they walked from Asia all the way up to Europe, and they established their civilization in Europe. They took a 4,000-mile walk from Asia up to Europe. That is their claim. And they claim their race is from 3 Sanskrit words. That is their claim. But the only thing we have historically to document them is what the facts are. There are a lot of people who claim that they were made and created in a laboratory, the Europeans. There are a lot of people who claim they are a degenerate black person, someone who suffers from a melanin deficiency. That is true. But the facts are they came from somewhere. So we can look at where they came from and what caused them to behave the way they behave. Strictly as a science, like you look at...
Yo, Dr. Africa about to go in, yo. Who doing what? Am I praying or what? You can say it's praying. Yeah, I think it's almost time, man. I'm getting hungry as shit, yo. Dr. Africa said, man, the Europeans studied everybody. You know, they didn't study the lost tribes of Australia. They didn't study the American Indians. They didn't study African. But who has studied the European? Who has really done the anthropological, historical study of the European? I'm gonna break it down for you, because they came from somewhere. They say they came from Asia. Dude's about to go in, yo. Oh. A humble hustler. Oh, man. A humble hustler? You sound like motherfucking the chicken man from goddamn Breaking Bad. What his name was in that show? Gustav. I'm a humble hustler. I just own a few chicken restaurants. Nah, nigga, you pushing that weight. I don't know what you're talking about. Yo, Exile crazy. Hey, you done ran some of them stories, yo? Word, yo. This motherfucker crazy. How you born with a tail? Yo, I don't know, dude. Bro. Yo, I don't know. Oh, man. Yo, I play this clip all the time, and this is the only I've tried so hard to find this whole lecture, and it's like I can't really find this shit, yo. But this dude tells you, man.
We get what we get, and we don't get upset, right? I'm pretty sure I told you to go.
Cutting edge genetics. One of the areas I'm really lucky I'm blessed to work in 3 distinct areas of biology: immunology, genetics, and reproduction. And on the genetic side, I get to go to conferences and hear about advances in genetics in all species. And I was just at one a couple of weeks ago down at the Cold Spring Harbor Lab in Long Island, and I learned a bit about what's being known about the genome of Neanderthals, the genetic makeup of Neanderthals. That the genome sequencers, led by Svante Pabo, who works in Germany, has taken tiny little fragments of Neanderthal bones, isolated DNA, and determined the genome of the Neanderthal, and used that information to determine, using genetic methods, how long ago Neanderthals and humans
Gilbert Blair?
were a single species, where the common ancestor was.
I don't think I ever heard of him, yo.
They've also been able to compare human genomes and ask the question of whether there's any evidence of Neanderthal genes in the human genome. And they found that there is. And the amount is quite significant, upwards of 5 to 7%. Neanderthals used to live in the Neander Valley. You could have called it the Cayuga Lake Basin, but that's where they lived. And out of Africa came the modern humans, and the word the geneticists use is admixed. They admixed with the Neanderthals. And they all used to live in caves in those days like this. Came out of Africa, admixed with the Neanderthals. This was Neanderthal territory. There was another group of Neanderthal-like creatures called the Denisovans. They lived up here in Siberia, and they have their genome has been sequenced. They were distinct from the Neanderthals. And so you can find in people of European and Asian ancestry evidence of about 7%, 5 to 10% of your genome is common with that of Neanderthals. We've been separated from them for 30,000 years or so. And in some of the tribes in Papua New Guinea and those islands out there, there's evidence for a different kind of genome, which is probably the Denisovan genome. And they might have 7% Neanderthal and 5% Denisovan. So they might be 12 or 15% different from us. And in fact, the Africans who came out from Africa have no evidence of any Neanderthal genes in them. No evidence of admixture. So they're the real pure humans. Homo sapiens. Really, really interesting, and it gives you a lot to think about.
Because some people born with tails, they got that Neanderthal DNA in them, bruh. Or some Denisovan DNA or something. Because pure humans don't have tails. But you can't find this whole lecture, though. I think it says it's a lecture on the history of the Neanderthal. That's some crazy shit, right? So the modern humans came up from Southern Africa, moved all the way up and encountered the Neanderthal. They thought, man, look, they got 2 eyes and 2 ears and a mouth and hands and feet like us. Maybe we can civilize these people. They just don't know. They living in caves and they just grunting and they dirty. And, maybe if we clean them up a little bit, man. Look, come out the cave. Come on, come out the cave. Look, it's fire. It's warm. Ooh, you don't have to go in the cave. You got these houses. See, we built this house. Sticks, mud, right? You build a shelter. You put ventilation in the top. Put your fire inside here. now you got control, so you got snakes and bugs and stuff inside the cave. You ain't want that, you know. Maybe wash you up a little bit, you know. And now they add mix with the Neanderthals, fuck shit up. You know what I'm saying? Now you done fuck shit up. That's kind of like what the Bible said with the fallen sons of God mixed with the daughters of man, and they created like the Nephilim or the man of old, the great ones, and then God had to wipe all their asses out. You know what I'm saying? He only saved one family after that shit. That was cataclysmic. That's some biblical shit, yo. It's in the Bible. Read that shit, man. Word up, yo. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Say it. It's gonna civilize you, man. Now we got all these different, you know, different branches to the human family, yo. And some people get treated way worse than other people, even though we enlightened us. We brought everybody out the dark, brought everybody out the caves, told you was a conscious being and you had a spirit. Word, yo, that's crazy. That's what's up, yo. Yo, but this is something else that always amazed me too. Like, black people can make white people, yo, but white people can't make black people, no matter what. Like, even just being albino, that shit is crazy. And I grew up, I had some neighbors, two brothers, and both of them were albino. And they had a sister, and she was just normal. Their mom and dad were just normal looking black people. Their sister was just like a black chick, and both her brothers were albino. It was weird as shit, yeah. I'm like, and that shit was crazy. Like, I was young, probably like 3rd or 4th grade when I first met him or something. And I was like, why do they look like that? You know, they look white, yo. He's like, yo, but that's their parents. I was like, that can't be their mom and dad. You lying. How is that their mom and dad? Look, man, look. He looks like Bart Simpson, bro. Look at him. He had a flat top and everything, yo. I was like, yo, this motherfucking look like Bart Simpson, yo. I was like, how is that? But then, you know, you learn about albinism, and it's like, black people can make white people? Yeah, black people made everybody. Black people made everybody, yo. That shit is crazy as fuck. All right, 3 hours. Bam! I was just trying to stretch it out a little bit. But we started talking about the pineal gland, which leads to talking about melanin, which leads to we started talking about the pyramid code and the culture that created the pyramid code, and then pineal glands and melanin, and then I decided to show like the lack of melanin and little shit like that, you know, a little bit of art, a little bit of education.
Never said to all my viewers, this is Jedediah Almond.
I didn't exactly finish a painting today. I basically that painting right there. Yo, you saw that painting, bro? Damn, that shit old as hell. Oh no, I like those combos, man, because everything is related, man. Once you start talking about any kind of deep subject other than sports, and sports, once you get deep into it, that shit comes back to everything else too. You know what I'm saying? Everything is everything. You know what I'm saying? So I like it. I like to spin off and keep going. Yeah, this man been watching me for a minute. Man. That's that throwback. That's that throwback, John. Matter of fact, this the painting right here that set off the whole Reader series, yo. I didn't know it was gonna be the Reader series when I did it, but I enjoyed the books in this painting so much that I was like, you know what? I might just do the whole Joan. So I did books, and I did more books, and then I did some more books, and some more books, and some more books, and more books. And I got a couple more paintings that aren't here right now with books in it. So I did this whole Reader series, yo. Everybody's reading some hot shit, son. You know what I'm saying? The Nat Turner classic throwback self-portrait. Your boy Trap looking aggravated like, why ain't nobody told me to read this when I was 13? I know how to motherfucking read when I was 13. I could have read this shit. Y'all motherfuckers been keeping secrets from me. God damn it. I don't know what the fuck to do. It feels like why do I feel like, I can't think of the word. I feel like, shit, it feels like I'm trapped. I need a way out of this shit. How do I get out of here? I gotta protect myself. Who the fuck is the Rothschilds? I need to educate myself about these motherfuckers. The Black Panthers. Let me see what these motherfuckers was all about. Find my way out of this goddamn shit I'm stuck in. Maybe I gotta do some crazy shit. I heard this one story about this one dude. This one dude, man. It was a long time ago. Hundreds of years ago in 1831. But this one black dude, he did something amazing. It was crazy. But he went through with it. Because he knew he was It's not a whole story, but you get the point. You get the point. Why you charge so much for your paintings? Cause that shit got some shit in it, man. You gonna have to pay for that shit, son. You don't wanna pay for it? I'll keep it. So this is the one I was working on today. Ooh-wee. Ooh, that shit hot, son. Ooh, damn, Trap House. How you do it like that? With my paintbrush. Ooh. That shit looks super stupid. Yeah. You know. Oh, you already know, bro. You know what I'm saying? Well, let me show my man some right. Yo, all my links are right here, yo, at the bottom. If you check out some of the art I've been doing. What do I do with my phone? Damn, yo, I put that shit in my pocket. Ew. Cause I was definitely about to get out of here. I want to show y'all so that's the last paint I was working on. The one before the last. Damn. I keep forgetting how big this canvas is, yo. I can't hardly fucking move this shit around here. Oh yeah. Damn, that shit big as fuck, son. Oh, I'm about to go downstairs and that's what I'm about to do right now, son. I ain't even lying to you, bro. I'm about to go downstairs. I'm about to grab you something to eat. I'm about to turn the other system on, and I'm about to play some Ghost Recon Wildlands. If y'all want to check that out, I've been streaming my games lately. Yo, a couple people be watching me. You know what I'm saying? So I'll stream that shit if y'all want to watch the game, yo. Yeah, if it ain't just the support, you know what I'm saying? That's what keep me motivated. I do this for the culture, man. You know what I'm saying? I like painting beautiful black people. My sister over here inhaling that effervescence. Looking like she need to be on the cover of Ebony or Essence. Oh, the Ghost Recon? Oh, bruh, you missing out, bruh. Yo, you gotta grab that. I'm telling you, it's the best shooter. Red Dead, John Marston. Yeah, but Marston died in the last one, right? So it was his son. I haven't peeped out a lot of the story plot for the new one. I've been trying. I don't really want to spoil anything, but I don't know, man. I'm excited for The Last of Us Part 2. And damn, what else was there? Red Dead is on my list, yo. I'm in a couple community groups that keeping up with the new information on Red Dead. But that's one of Rockstar's biggest franchises. It's been how long? 6 years, 6 years since we had a Red Dead game. And they always do that. I mean, but that's how Rockstar does it. So that's how you know you're gonna get a good game, because they only put out a Grand Theft Auto every 4 or 5 years. They only, they put out the fucking the Red Dead shit like every 4 or 5 fucking years. So they have a long time working on that shit. I know it's gonna be a good game, but I think I'm more hyped about The Last of Us Part 2, yo. I ain't even gonna lie, yo. I'm way more hyped about that shit. And that's it right there. Days Gone. Boy, I was just about to, yeah. And that other game, yo, how they said, like, I watched the second clip of it, and it was the same mission, but it was like dude say, yo, if you it depends on what time you reach your mission, man. It could be sunny, daylight, and zombies everywhere, or it could be dark, snowing, and motherfucking guards out on patrol with sniper rifles. And I was like, word? Let me try that. Yeah, but a way out. A way out. A way out. Damn, that shit sounds familiar. I can't really picture that in my head. I know I read about that shit. A way out. Was it in this one or was it in the last one? It must have been in the last issue. Yeah, I think it was in it might have been in the last one. I think I just seen something about that though. But this right here is previewing Spider-Man. Spider-Man Dragon Quest. I actually seen some footage from the crew too, where you can. It's weird how you can. They say you're in your car, you hit a button, you're in a fucking airplane automatically. You're flying over the water, you hit a button, boom, you're in a fucking boat. Like, I don't know about that. That doesn't seem realistic at all. Put that right there, though, son. Bruh, can't wait for that shit, son. Ooh. Breakout? There was some game called A Way Out or something. I ain't seen no shit called Breakout. I know. Damn, that was a couple of issues ago. There was this other game, but it's an Xbox. I think it's an Xbox exclusive. It's like a PvP like shooter, but I might get that shit. I was looking at it just because I don't play my Xbox One at all. Literally, it just sits in the bedroom, and I have a TV in here. We got 2 TVs in the living room. Like, when we go in the bedroom, normally we go to bed. You know, we don't really watch TV in there. So we got the Xbox in there for Netflix. Like, we barely use that shit, yo. I'm trying to find a game just so I can say I use my Xbox One. We had 2 of them. The one we have now is my girlfriend's system. But I traded mine in for my PS4 Pro. I got my Pro for damn near free, yo. I took my PlayStation 4 and my Xbox One and all that shit, man. I traded that shit in, and I gave like a couple of bucks and then got my PS4 Pro. Fuck that Xbox One. Red Bandit, yo, a lot of people is coming through from way back in the day, yo. My other man was just in here too, yo. What's good with you, man? I was just about to get out of here, man. I just wanted to try to make like 3 hours. I was basically showing off some stuff. I stopped painting like 40 minutes ago. I just been here chilling, chit-chatting and shit, you know what I'm saying, reminiscing. Showing off some of some of the stuff I'm working on. This one right here is done. Put this back. I was working on this one earlier. Got a little bit more to go on here. That's gonna be hot. That's basically done. And then I just put the next one on the easel. I still got a couple days off, so I'll probably be in here. Probably in here working on this later on this evening, yeah. I just had a picture for this thing. The revolution will not be televised. I repeat, everyone in the public, I repeat, the revolution will not be televised. Why? The revolution will be in your mind. It will be your change of perception, your change of reality. The revolution will not be televised. This is gonna be so hot, son. When it's done, son. This is gonna be so hot. I'm gonna have to wear mittens just to move that shit around. Tell the gallery right now, man. Y'all need some flame retardant gloves before y'all put that shit on the wall. You know what I'm saying? Let me take my ass downstairs, yo. That's it. I'm about to eat. I'm about to turn on some Ghost Recon Wildlands. I don't know if y'all in the gaming or not, but I'm about to go stream that shit. Y'all can watch me get my ass bust, because until you find a good squad to run with and somebody who got mics on, man, I just lose a lot. I die a lot in that shit, but it's still fun as shit, yo. It's the best game I got right now. It's fun ass game to me, yo. It's a shooter. It's a shooter game, but it's slow paced. It's not really slow paced. It's kind of fast paced, but it's more strategic. It's me. That's why I suck at it. Cause I still be wanting. We can't do that shit. You gotta play that shit like real life, yo. Let me make sure everything is off. All right, the speaker is off. The space heater is off. Turn my down. Make sure the laptop is off. And now why don't they have the Siri feature built into all our devices? Your laptop turn off. That shit just like do 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 do. All right, guys, yo, peace. Until next time.